Welcome to the Hybrid Real Estate Professional Podcast, where we dive deep into the intersection of career, family, and finances. Learn the mindsets, tips, and strategies to help you on your personal journey to build a life of abundance and purpose for you and your family. Now here's your host, Karen. Welcome back to another episode of the Hybrid Real Estate Professional Podcast. Today we have a multifaceted episode with my good friend and my fitness coach, Jack Sorensen. Jack has an incredible backstory from working as an engineer to house hacking his first rental property and ultimately taking the plunge into running his fitness coaching business full time. I had the pleasure of getting to know Jack as a friend before becoming one of his clients. We cover a lot of topics in this interview, and Jack gives a very honest take on what it's like to be a DIY landlord, how it felt when he left his W-2 job, and what it takes to lead a holistic, healthy life in today's world. It was a blast having him on. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Hybrid Real Estate Professional Podcast. Today, I am joined by my good friend and very special guest, Jack Sorensen. Full disclosure, Jack and I have been working together for several months now, and he is my fitness coach, but he is so much more than that. But before I butcher any introduction, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to my audience in your own words.
What is going on, everybody? My name's Jack, former engineer turned serial entrepreneur, full-time with my online coaching business now, but I was in the real estate game for about 2 years. I got my own rental property, but yeah, I'm all over the place, right? I was an engineer, and that's it, to put it frank.
And that's it. Come on. Okay, so we're going to work on Jack's humility here, but
sorry about
very multi-dimensional person.
I'm all over the place.
And so Jack, like you mentioned, he started his W-2 career as an engineer, but he recently left his job and went full in on his fitness.
Let's not trick the people here. I got laid off, but it's okay.
There you go. But instead of dwelling and stewing in your own misery, you grab life by the horns and you figured out how to create your own thing and go all in. So I want to go a little bit chronologically, right? So let's start post-college, like how you got into the whole engineering space and what that chapter meant to you.
Yeah, sure. The whole engineering thing, starting from a young age, I loved cars. That was my thing. My favorite movie growing up was Cars. My uncle had this Mustang, and I would love to get ride-alongs with it. He would show up, and I would just like, oh my God, it was the coolest thing ever. It's like his Mustang was the first car I learned how to drive stick on. So I was a huge car guy. So naturally, I went to mechanical engineering. That was just the way my mind worked. I was very good with numbers, too, from a young age, like just accelerating. Hold up. Okay. But yeah, so I basically was just super, super obsessed with cars. So naturally, like I said, going to mechanical engineering, I built a bunch of cars through high school. Like I bought them, fixed all that jazz. And I just love the mechanical side of things and how things function. So there's the engineering side of things of like why I went that route. I thought that was the route for me. So then graduating college, naturally I said, I love cars. I'm going to go into the automotive industry. So that's what I did. So from Massachusetts, I graduated from a school called Worcester Polytechnic Institute. Quite a mouthful, WPI for short. But I shipped it over to Michigan, didn't know a single person. I just said, you know what, I want to be in the automotive industry. This seems like the dream job. Let's do this. I was working with self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles, not like the mechanical side of things, which is very like a little bit annoying for me. I was like, dang, I'm not like in the nitty gritty of learning suspension and like engine components and all that stuff. But it was really cool to be in the car. I was a test engineer and systems engineer. So I was like in these cars, like doing these crazy tests for self-driving, like letting a car drive itself and hopefully it doesn't ram into something type thing. So it was fun. And then I was a lot of coding, taught myself how to code. But regardless, yeah, that's how we got into the engineering space over to Michigan. And so I guess like from there, I was introduced to house hacking straight out of college. So my buddy's like, dude, have you heard about this thing on house hacking? Like you should listen to Bigger Pockets. I'm like, what? Bigger Pockets? What's Bigger Pockets? What? This makes no sense. It's the weirdest name ever. But I was just, all right, sure. Started listening and I got obsessed. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I can live for cheap. And it's a big shell shock coming out of college, like not really knowing much about money. And then all of a sudden having to fork over that much for rent and then that much for car. And I already was paying my car insurance. But like I had decided I have two cars, so it was more, and then Michigan's insurance is slightly higher. So it's just like a bunch of different things. I'm like, oh, this is life. Cool. Very big shell shock there. Not bringing in as much money as I thought. As you're an engineer growing, like going through the program, everyone has this kind of stick up their ass. Oh, like I'm going to make so much money out of college. Like it's totally fine. I'll be good. And you still, don't get me wrong, you make a good salary out of college, but you're like, oh, it's not as much as I thought. It's never as much as you think. So it was a big shell shock. So I was like, okay, I want to get a property. And thankfully, I lived in a very cheap market. Michigan is Midwest in general is much lower barrier to entry. You can find 200K homes like all day long, like pretty easy. Are they amazing rentals? You know, they're all right, but the barrier to entry was so much lower, especially a guy fresh out of college. So that first year, I came out of college with like not much to my name. And that first year, I just basically saved like every penny, didn't do much, nothing special. It's just saved everything I had, didn't go out. I was on this man on a mission. Like I was working out, fitness stuff. I was working out. I was preparing for, I had a bodybuilding competition. I had an endurance race I was prepping for. So save, prep for those things. And then eventually I'll be able to buy my first rental. So let's do it. So that's basically how it worked. Like for a full year, essentially, I just saved my ass off. And then I found a home in like a C. It's like the best neighborhood in a C-class city, which a lot of people love to go to those A and Bs. And I totally understand. But look in the best of C. That's like maybe right on the border of that B neighborhood. And you might find a decent deal where people will be okay with renting just over the border because it's a nicer neighborhood. And that's how it worked with me. The city was not great. It was not that. It's called Pontiac, but it's right on the border of one of the richest cities or like towns in Michigan, like very wealthy. So it's, oh, like this is a little bit of hidden gem here. Like this little neighborhood is perfect. So I was like, screw it. So I got into a home for $169. So super cheap. Like I got maybe, I think it was $15K in, like 5% conventional, like ridiculous. So super low barrier to entry. So don't recommend moving to the Midwest if you're from there. Like I understand why you stay there, but I didn't like the season with depression. So to put it frank, but yeah, so basically did a live-in rehab. So I was living in my mess. It was a historic home. So you can probably imagine it brought a lot of challenges. 1931. Plaster, everything original, everything, so much stuff. Like the previous owner tried to do stuff like rehab stuff maybe in the early 2000s and then half-assed it and then like never finished. So like the basement was like half finished. He was clearly trying to put a unit down there or something, and it was like half finished, but 2000 stuff. So it's you got like the stick on tiles and asbestos nightmare, but like we were good, and then all that stuff. So yeah, it was just like this whole job. So I did a live-in rehab, and basically as I was fixing it up, once I got it to a place where I was like happy with, I'm like, okay, I'm going to rent out the rooms. So there's the house hack strategy. A single family. A lot of people like to think of the duplex or the getting a small multifamily to try to do the house hack, but it's such a low barrier to entry doing a single family. So if you're okay living with other folks, it's honestly a no-brainer. I had no issue with it because I just like, I just want to offset my income. I just want to help my expenses, bring the expenses down. So then, yeah, I basically rented out the rooms as I was rehabbing the rest of the house. So I'd finish one room and then I would furnish it, get it all ready. I was listed on Furnish Finder. It was midterm rental style. So I was getting quality tenants. I was getting union workers, construction workers, nursing students, med students, nurses, all that. It was great. Like the tenants, I really never struggled with getting poor tenants up until I just, recently. But yeah, so it was great. So like I finish a room, furnish it, boom, rent it. So then all the other rooms were disgusting, still getting ripped up, still whatever. But I would give them a disclaimer when they move in. Hey, like the rest of the house is great. The first floor I finished, the basement's good, everything's good. But yeah, the other rooms are not done yet. They're like, yeah, it's fine. I'm going to be in my space and that's great. And most of them just stayed in their rooms. And I gave them keys. It was great. Like it was essentially just like a rent by room strat where you just like each one walking doorknobs. So that's what the word I was trying to say. So yeah, so like that was a full year just doing that. And put around, I think total into the house around 30K, just under that. So, and that's feeding it from my engineering job slowly. So I ran out of money with the rehab stuff. I'm like, oh, this went over budget. No way. First deal. You should be over conservative with your numbers, guys. So I was like, crap, like all this money I saved up to finish the rehab, not there. So it basically slowly trickled in. And so the money coming in from the renters and then the money from my W-2, I was able to finish the house. And I was like, this is great. So it's finished. And I got to a point where I didn't like Michigan anymore. My girlfriend lives in New York City, distance, all that jazz. Family's from Mass. I'm like, it's time for me to jump ship and go back to the East Coast. So then that's when I jumped back and then made it a fully functioning midterm rental. And it was great. It was great up until recently, essentially. What changed? Honestly, so first off, my cash flow got hit pretty bad. So my tax got reassessed and a lot of the work that I did in the house, it made it look way better. A lot more curb appeal, and it just skyrocketed, like way more than I was expecting. And I didn't see it in the mail. They claimed they sent it in the mail. I was living there. I was looking in the mail. They're like, oh, we sent it in the mail. I'm like, I don't But I didn't see it. So like months later, I get this new tax assessment. Hey, your taxes skyrocketed like 3x instead of like my 2x prediction, where it's okay, I'm going to cash flow great after it gets reassessed. We're fine. Oh my God. So like I was making midterm rentals do pretty good. So I was making like 1,300 cash flow each month. Very happy. It's an old home. So I was putting a lot of it away to ensure we were good for expenses wise. And then it just got halved. And I'm like, okay, that's a little bit scary just because it's an old home and it's a midterm rental. So I am basically supplying absolutely everything. Tenants like asking for, hey, can we get some salt for the front steps? I'm buying the freaking salt. Oh, we need a new shovel. Yeah, all right, sounds good. Appliance breaks. I'm like freaking out getting that appliance in. And granted, like I'm running the show by myself because I didn't want to pay a management fee. It's just like especially once the cash flow got hit. So then once the cash flow got hit, I actually resorted back to a rent by room strategy. Got it all set by the city and rented it by the room to bring my cash flow just a little bit up. But that brought other challenges, like bringing different individuals into the same house. Like I had to make sure I was screening good. And it was just conflicts with some tenants, which was a bummer. Like basically I had this old man and then 2 girls and then whatever. And this old guy was like great on the call, fantastic, amazing credit score, like checked every box. He's like, yeah, I'm just in the area, whatever. And then he started trying to run the house. So I was like, oh boy, like just because he's older than the travel nurses that are like late 20s. So it was like this whole thing. And then like recently, some of my tenants just kept breaking stuff. There were 4 girls. They're great. They were phenomenal tenants, but things were just breaking. They were running way too much. They were plugging in too much to outlets. It's a old breaker or whatever panel. And they just kept popping breakers left and right. I'm like, and they broke a shower head and they broke a washer. And I was like, okay, I'm getting peeved here. And as I am making a transition, I'm moving to New York City. I am now full-time with my coaching. So I'm like, I don't need the headache anymore. And the house actually shot up in value way more than I was expecting. So like my game plan basically when I first got the house was like, okay, it's a 5-year hold. Then we're going to exit, right? 5-year hold, exit because it's an older home. Like things are bound to happen eventually, and things were happening before. Like I predicted, okay, but for the first 2 years, I should be good. Like I fixed up a lot of things. It should be good. And things just kept popping out. I'm like, okay, this is getting a little bit frustrating. Just like little leaks randomly on pipes. I'm like, dude, like what? Like you were fine yesterday. So yeah, I was like, so the house shot up in value overnight, essentially, like over the winter. Like its value, like maybe fall of 2023, like when I exited, it was maybe like 205. So it's basically right where I put my money in. Great, 10K more. And then all of a sudden it was valued at 250 in the spring. And I was like, oh, okay. The ARV just shot up and I'm actually sitting on a lot of equity out of nowhere, 80, 90K. And I'm like, this is perfect. It's already a headache. Cash flow is not amazing. I'm basically breaking even almost every month with things breaking. So I said, you know what? Sometimes it makes sense to just pull out. I know everyone argues the thing like hold, but there's just your ROI, of course, but then you got the good old mental ROI. And if it's like bothering me continuously, dealing with tenants, and it was rented by the room, so no management company wants to handle that. I tried. They're like, that's a lot. So we're going to have to do it per unit, which is this percentage. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, no way. Like, I already don't make enough. And the house it just wasn't worth it. But yeah, so now I basically 2x my money in 2 years. So it's one of those things where it's like I predicted correctly. I'm like, hey, this is a nice neighborhood in a C-class city. Eventually, those comps it's just going to trickle in and it's going to boom a little bit. Like, and it's in that 2 to 250 range where it's very attainable for a lot of families. So I was like, you know what? We're running it. So yeah, now it's under contract for 240. Post inspection, they want 4,000 in concessions. I'm like, take it. I want to get out. You're good. Take the concessions. And hopefully closing date is like basically a month from now, like the 20th or 21st. So they're FHA though. So like it's a little nerve wracking because it's an old home, but I'm glad to help people out and get into that home. Like it's going to be a family. I'm pretty sure they have a kid on the way. So I'm like, yeah, like you're perfect. Take the house, please. I'm so happy it's going to the right person, not some investor trying to lowball me. I want a family to own this thing after all that work I did. So yeah, man. So there's the real estate story.
Love it, man. What a journey. What's funny is that you hear people, okay, I house hacked. I got my first house. I rented it out. I made some money and I exited and I left. But you just gave us all the color commentary in between, right? You had moments where you were rehabbing and you ran out of money and had to wait until you
Yeah.
were able to get it either through rent or your salary. You learned all that stuff on your own.
Yep.
You
YouTube
went with the
University,
midterm.
baby.
Exactly. You went with the midterm rental model, which is super trendy right now.
It is
And
very.
you can make a lot more money, but it comes with all those extra hassles and stuff that you were describing. And then,
Exactly.
of course, you already called it out, but as you shifted to focus strictly on your coaching business, and this thing was a mental drain, you weren't even living in the same city, and you just wanted to move on with your life and focus on what really lights you up. Yeah, you made that calculation. I sold 2 rentals in the last 2 years,
Exactly.
and I'm a long-term rental investor, so I get it. Those decisions are not binary, black and white. It's not as simple as it's painted out to be, and sometimes it is the right move to sell. And I want to correct something you said at the very beginning. You said
What?
I was in the real estate game, and now I'm getting out. You're
I'm
too
still in
young.
it. Yeah, I
You're
know, I
too
know, I
young
know.
to say that it's
All right,
that you're out
fair.
of anything.
Fair.
So
I understand that. I do plan to get back in. That's definitely the long-term game. I've learned the power of it in 2 years, dude. 2xing my money. Like, there's no place that's going to do that for me. Granted, markets are crazy right now. Appreciation is ridiculous. But yeah, like I was like, all right, this is eventually when I have more expendable cash, when I'm ready, when I have the time and the mental capacity to maybe partner with people and get into other deals, then yeah, we're going to do that. And I'm going to make a decent amount of money in the house. I'm a invest with some folks. I'll throw some cash here. People in Action Academy, like the group we're in, right? Like land guys are crushing it. They don't need a lot of money to get into some lands. I could give them 20K. They could do something with that. So I'll still be in it. It's just I can't be managing something right now. It's like there were multiple times where I was like focusing, getting a really good groove on with my coaching business, and all of a sudden something broke. All of a sudden, my tenant says, hey, all the lights shut off in the house. I'm like, is there a storm? They're like, yeah, yesterday. I'm like, okay, well, check just these little things that just kept coming up. I'm like, and it would just freeze me. Because I'm the type of person that it's like very active. Something happens, I want a solution, I move fast. That's the way I roll. I like just cause effect fast. I like moving quick. And so when things like real estate's slow, things can't be solved in a day most of the time. So it just would just grab me by the neck, and I just feel like I couldn't breathe just because, oh my God, this thing's still happening. And yes, I know, like, it's no big deal. Like, it'll get figured out. But my first house, I don't have a lot of income coming in because I'm still figuring out this business thing. It's just this stress. And it kept coming, and I'm like, all right, like my reserves were just trickling down for the house. And I'm like, you know what? It makes more sense for me to exit, especially when the market's hot. Like, this might be the top of where this little area might be for a little bit. It might trickle down in the fall again. So I'm like, you know what? Let's exit. It seemed more smart for me. And I talked to you. I talked to so many people in Action Academy. It's the return on my mental capacity, and I'll probably be able to use that money better elsewhere. It just makes more sense. And I'm moving to like the most expensive place like in the country. So I think having a little bit extra funds would be nice.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not my
So
best decision, but it's got to be done.
So before we move towards the current chapter, which of your life, which is super exciting, I want to go back just to when you entered the engineering job
Yes.
coming out of college.
Mhm.
Did you think that you would work that for 45 years
No.
until you retired?
A quick answer, no. Once I stepped foot in there, so I'm fresh off of a bodybuilding competition when I'm starting my job. So I'm like a lean freak. I'm obsessed with it. I'm really into fitness. Granted, I still am, but it was just different then. When you're just like, when it's like you live, breathe your nutrition, your training and stuff to get ready for a show, it's a lot. So I just felt like such an outlier so quickly. And I am a goofy dude, high energy. I'm always fresh off the gym, showing up to work. So I'm like, well, let's get after the day. Let's go. I'm like, let's crush it. As I sit down and like on my computer, I'm like, okay. But it was just tough. It was tough mentally. People didn't understand me. And even like the real estate stuff too. Like I was coaching on the side at this point. We'll get to that. But it was just like, no one was like, why are you investing in real estate? Isn't that, what are you doing? Like, just dump into your 401k, be good. I'm like, I don't plan to be here. And my goal was like 5 years, get out the W-2. Once I found out about real estate, I have a 5-year goal, essentially 5, maybe 8. Like I said, by 30, I'm 25. So like by 30, I wanted to be like just out of the W-2 just because I wanted that freedom. So I was like, all right, real estate's the vehicle. And then I learned it takes a little bit longer with certain things, but yeah. So
You beat your projection by 5 years almost.
by accident, but it's not because I have a lot of money to be able to exit. I'm just like, figuring it out as I go. I'm just like, all right, this is reality now, and I'm gonna just take a chance on myself. Like the worst thing that can happen right now is that I just go get another engineering job and just that's it. That's it. I would just go back to my life before. I'd probably have to pull back on the coaching a little bit, take less clients, whatever it may be. But that's what life would be. And is that bad? No. Like that's totally okay. I was happy. So now I'm just like, up here now. I'm a psycho now. I'm just like, yo, I'm always fired up. This Aaron. This is not news.
Our mentor, Mr. Brian Lubin, he has that saying, what is it? The worst case scenario is your present day reality, right? When he's talking about people who are considering leaving their jobs and they're unhappy. And obviously that's his kind of message of shoot your shot if that's how you feel. And yeah, absolutely.
Same thing goes for just like real estate too, dude. It's like the worst thing that can happen is like the deal doesn't go right and you'll go back to just doing what you're doing, save some money again and do it again. It's like, it's really not that deep. It's nerve wracking, of course, different. People think that you're a little bit crazy for trying things and not putting your money in the typical stuff and maybe not buying that super nice car or whatever. And maybe not capping yourself out financially. That's not that's the norm. It's just like overextend yourself to keep just, what's it called? Life inflation, right? That's just the norm. So it's like for you to not do that. And it's just different path and some people don't get it, but it's okay. If it's something you're passionate about, whatever, just give it a shot. And then the worst thing that happens is you just get back to it. Simple as that. Super simple.
So I remember when we first met, you had already started doing some coaching on the side. And I think you'd been doing it for a little bit.
Yeah.
But you hadn't flipped the switch in your head of I'm going to go full time with this. And I was there for that whole process when you made that decision. I want you to explain that couple months, like right up to leading up to that decision.
Yeah. Basically, I've been coached out at the time. So this was, let's just say it's October of 2023. So I heard that layoffs were coming for my company. It wasn't necessarily, oh, Jack, I wasn't fired. Layoffs just happened. In my company, like just wiped like half of the like engineering automotive guys. But yes, I was just coaching for free for 2 years at this time. So I was a certified personal trainer. I was in person for a little bit, coached some people, and I was just not making much money though. It wasn't something I ever thought about going full time. And I entered Action Academy saying all my bread is in the real estate game. I want to go midterm rentals, relocation folks, like the travel relocation people, insurance claims, like that was hot, right? Like really hot, like end of 2023. It's people are just finding out this craziness where it's you just say a number and the travel agency might just say, oh yeah, sure. And you're cash flowing $3,000 a month on a property. You're like, what? It's craziness. So I was like, let's do it. I was so down for that. So that was what I wrote my Vivid Vision about. That's what I was like super all in for. But yeah, at this point in time, like I was coaching for 2 years. I had clients, maybe enough to cover groceries. I had systems in place, like the app that you're on now. Like I bought that. I started using that 2 years ago and I was losing money using that for months. I was losing like 20, 30, 40 bucks a month, but I was okay with that. It's not that much money, but it was just like, I didn't care. I was like, these people are having a great experience. And I was also posting on my Instagram this time because like I said, like I was doing bodybuilding. I had a bodybuilding competition and then I did a Spartan race. That was crazy. So I just documented it. That was like my thing. I love documenting it. So now it's okay. It's October. I got laid off and I was just like, what do I do? So it wasn't like leading up to it. I wasn't thinking, I was thinking I was going to get another engineering job if I potentially got laid off because there was rumors that this was going to happen and I got the call. And granted, the job was back in Michigan. I negotiated to be remote. So naturally, I am one of the first to go in a situation like that because they'd rather have people in office. But there were some amazing individuals that got laid off, like really smart individuals in office that got laid off. So I was like, that's just the way of the game, engineering, especially big companies. Like it was a big company. So that's just your number, man. It's unfortunate. So yeah, so I panic applied initially, dude. So it wasn't all like roses. It's like, oh crap, what do I do? I applied. I had some interviews. I actually landed a job like 1 week after going full time with my fitness business. Like I landed one. It was like, you want it? Like, cool. And it was gonna be more than I was making before. I was like, mofo, like what a test. But yeah, so I panic applied. I was freaking out. I was super nervous. I had a little bit of a severance. I was happy about that, but my expenses are low, thankfully. But yeah, it was just nerve wracking as all hell because it's just like, this is what I've known. This is what everyone I know knows, right? So it was crazy. But then thankfully, because of the group, thankfully for Brian Lubin, just go for it. What's the worst thing that can happen? And you have a platform, you have a base, you have a brand, you've been posting on Instagram, you have clients, like just try it. Like, try charging more. I was like, charging more? That's craziness. I can't charge for something I've been doing almost for free for years. Like, dude, I was charging maybe max like $100 a month, like towards the end. And that was like 2 clients that were paying me that. But initially it was like free or 20 or $30. Not granted, it's not to the level of what the coaching is now. Like, it was just basically they train whatever. I check in with them, super nonchalant, but still, I was like, this is crazy. Then I just started charging, and thankfully I was in Action Academy, and it worked because a lot of people were looking to bring up their health and stuff, and I was just there. I was the guy, and everyone would rather support me than go somewhere else. I was a great price compared to probably some other coaches they would pick out. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do this. So then people just started hopping in the coaching, and I started out hot. It went great. But yeah, so there's your answer to your question. I could keep going, of course, but
no, so that's so cool because it's such a realistic answer. Sometimes you hear people ask questions like that on shows, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I knew 100% from day one that I was going to do this full time and it was going to work out perfectly." It's, no, you didn't.
Yeah, no, you didn't. That's just like stage talk, but it was not pretty for me, guys. Like, it's like, granted, I'm a person that's very, like I said, active. I do things, I move fast, I take action, but it's not something that I was preparing for. I didn't have a ton of money saved up, guys. Like, I don't have this crazy emergency fund. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to take a chance on myself. And it's been unreal. It's been so cool. Granted, is the income at my engineering level? It's not fully there yet. Like, some months I did, some months whatever. Can't speak. But like, some months I'm there, some months I'm not. But regardless, I'm just feeling alive. And yeah, it's nothing pretty. It's nothing pretty. Really is. It's just grit and just keep going, essentially.
Changed the way you thought about it, because basically it was a thing that you did. I don't want to say for fun, because it was more than fun. Like, it was something you were super passionate about. You were willing to do it pretty much for free.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on the side, and you hadn't even really considered making it your main thing.
Ever.
And then you flipped the switch, and now it's your main thing. And it seems like now you probably are like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah. What's funny too is I was networking with a lot of coaches, like when I first started coaching, and I was actually sponsored by a supplement company, and a lot of the people in the supplement company were full-time online coaches. And they're like, Jack, come over, let's do it. And I'm like, I'm an engineer, dude. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm doing good. I was happy with where I was at. But then I understand why they kept trying to convince me, because it's just a different feeling working for yourself. And it's craziness. It's totally crazy. And yeah, I also had the thought of, do I want to take something that I'm so passionate about? Because most of the time you hear about, don't take a passion and try to make money with it. That's like the number one thing they say, don't do. But it's different when you have, I'm a coach versus, hey, I love drifting. I have a drift car. Trying to make that my job, impossible. Like, I couldn't do it. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to make money that way. But this way, I love to help people. And it's what was the difference between my engineering job and my coaching for all those years as I was an engineer, is I was way more fired up to help those people with their health. No matter what time of day, no matter whatever, it would be midnight, someone hits me up, I help them out. I was so fired up for those people because I was helping them. And then engineering, I just never had that like light. You never had that passion. It never fired me up, which is okay. That's fine. Maybe if I was in a different industry, like doing different things, I might have felt differently. But yeah, it's just like this always lit my fire. It's funny, Brian, literally on our first phone call, he's like, why don't you go full time with the coaching? Like, why don't you just do that? It sounds like you could make money like very quickly with it. I'm like, hey, I don't know, man. I don't know. So
like, what about all this
real estate stuff, dude? This is what's hot right now. Like, why don't we do that? But yeah, it's craziness, dude. And the total 180. And I quickly became the fitness guy. I already was, like, in the sense that a lot of people knew I was in shape, but like all of a sudden in my network, I tried to tell everyone, yo, I'm the fitness coach now. Hit me up if you need help. Let's run it. Free help. Let's call. Let's have a phone call. Like, whatever I can do, because the more people I help, the more my name gets out, the more the business does better. I just need to be in people's heads. That's basically like how my model works. Is I don't want to spend money on ads. I don't want to do anything. I want this to be a genuine, real trust. People hear about me. They talk about me. There's something there. Someone listens to this podcast. I'd much rather coach someone that hears this podcast. They're like, you know what? I'm going to hit up Jack versus an ad that I paid money for and I'm trying to like grab their attention. I just don't like that. I want this to be genuine. That's my whole game plan.
We call that attraction rather than promotion, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So I want to I'm going to tell a little bit of a personal story about my experience with Jack, and then I want to tee that into you explaining your program a bit.
All right.
So everyone knows, if you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, right? I have 3 young children under the age of 3. including two twins. They're just about 6 months old as the time of this recording. Life is, even with one kid, is usually pretty chaotic. But once the twins came, my whole schedule and everything got upended. And I was feeling in one sense, I was very ecstatic because I had these two beautiful new lives in our family and we were getting so much quality time. I even took 3 months off from my job. And so the family bucket was really full in a great way. But a lot of the stuff that I had become accustomed to with my routine, any type of fitness routine that I had before was totally out the window. My sleep was all out of whack. And of course, like some of the coping you do with disruption can often, be unhealthy. And I was not eating very well and I was not getting, good motion or exercise in. And because Jack and I had been friends, I had a couple conversations with you and you never once pitched, hey, come join my program. We were just chatting about what does it mean because in my mind, I had this idea that, okay, unless I can get to a gym for 60 minutes every day, uninterrupted, and put in a full, super structured workout, like it's not worth it. That was just some weird limiting belief that I created in my head.
You're not alone, dude.
And instead, Jack, we had a good conversation about how do we create something super sustainable that you can be proud of, that you're going to wake up feeling really good about? How do we introduce awareness into your diet? And again, this was before we were even really talking about your program. You were just telling me the tenets of good health. And it really quickly changed the way I thought about, okay, I can get things back on track. And then, of course, I ended up joining your program because we started talking about the way it was structured. And it was just such a perfect fit because it's, when you call yourself a fitness coach, everyone probably thinks of something totally different, right? But I think you're going to have to correct me here, but I think you call it there's like a life transformation package or something where it's not
it's a life life change coaching. That's what I call it. I don't even call it like it is fitness coaching, it's health coaching, but it's a life change program because the goal is to essentially really change your life in every aspect and not just put you through some sort of physical transformation, because I could get everyone shredded, man. I could get everyone to lose weight. It's a very simple science, but it's about everything involved with health and fitness. And I want to empower people to make it feel like, okay, I can do this no matter how busy I am. That's my utmost goal. And I want to bring positivity and energy to your life with this because it is a big deal when you take your health into your own hands. It really is. A lot of people neglect it, and it's okay. It's not like, oh man, I can't believe you neglect your health. Yo, it's so hard to make time for your freaking health with life. Like the second you get a family or whatever, or your jobs, it's really hard to sneak in workouts or have the energy to. So I get it. I was an engineer. I was around that, so I get it. But I want to make sure you realize it's a big deal. It's a really big deal to take your health into your own hands.
And it lies at the root of everything else. I think it was hard for me to be as effective of a parent, as effective of a coworker, colleague, as effective as an entrepreneur and a real estate investor, all these different identities I have. It was really difficult for me to show up well across all those areas when I had been essentially deprioritizing one of the most important things. And so I think what's interesting is that the path that we co-created together is a very patient path, right? It was like, hey, how do you find 20 minutes?
Exactly.
20 minutes where you can do these stretches and these lifts. And yeah, maybe we can build towards something longer. But we pretty much still talked through like, where's the bar? Where can you find a chunk of time that you can know that you can hit? And how can you set the bar somewhere that you can clear so that you're going to feel good about it?
And consistently do it over and over again. Because like that, it needs to be sustainable and attainable. If it's neither of those, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to stick with it. There's this crazy stigma out there that you need to go to the gym, like you were saying, like an hour plus, 6 times a week, or it's not even worth doing. No, you can make a lot of progress just like focusing on your nutrition and going for walks. It really can be that simple, but no one knows this. It's not this known thing because it's like, what do you see on Instagram? You see the fitness psychos who are in insane shape and they just screaming at you in the camera saying, if you're not like getting up at 5 a.m, 4 a.m, grinding whatever, you're a lazy piece of whatever. No, that's not it. You're not the average folk. Dude, my avatar, the people I want to coach are people that were like me, like when I was going through my weight loss journey and everything. Like I lost 80 pounds in college. I never really talked about that. I felt like I didn't have enough time. I felt alone. No one understood me, all that. And same with going as an engineer, I just saw so many people neglecting their health, and I found myself constantly giving advice to engineers. Hey, just try this. Just go for walks. Just try to bring in some more protein into your diet. Very simple stuff. And they were noticing differences. I'm like, like these are the type of people I want to coach who feel like they don't have enough time. Entrepreneurs, business owners, where it's, you can still make time for your health. It just might not be as craziness as you're expecting, but at least you will do something. And if you do it over a long enough time, you will see results, dude. Like, you've made insane results. And what we're doing, like 30 minutes, like at least 3x a week, basically, like in your home gym, and it's your strength has gone up like craziness. Like, you're basically maxing out your machine now. Chest is popping, like leaning out, like it's nothing crazy, dude. It's just that you can do it over and over again, and that's what it matters. That's what it's got to be. It has to be that way.
And so there's the consistency and there's the results, which really do come with time if you commit to it. But the other element that I think I've gotten the most value out of, which is really important, is I've had weeks where all three of our kids get sick, or I get sick, or something. Like, we just this past week had a huge storm in Houston that knocked us on our ass and like totally out of rhythm, and I didn't get a single workout in, and I started beating myself up. I started getting upset, and I'm also like, have to come back to Jack and be like, I didn't get my workouts in. And instead of him being like, you could have made time, he's, dude, have some grace, give yourself some grace, and understand your circumstances and acknowledge the wins that you've made over the last several months, and give yourself some credit, and don't beat yourself up, because that does absolutely nothing for you.
Exactly, man.
Those are some of the best value. Like, the program itself is incredibly powerful, but like those moments where it's okay, cut yourself some slack, recognize what you're doing, and pick yourself back up when you're able to. I think that's what people need to hear more than anything, especially when they're trying to go after this kind of marathon style. Like, you don't just prioritize your health for 6 months, 1 year out of your life. You have to do it over the long run. And so I think, that's some of the best value I've done.
Dude, that's why I call it the Life Change Program, and it's 6 months long for people that don't know. But essentially, in those 6 months, we're bound to see so much. Every aspect of life. You lose power. You have nothing. You don't have access to this. You're like, I can't communicate with you, whatever. You go on vacations. Kids happen. You get sick. It's the real life, man. And the whole point of it is, I want to make sure that you're in the right mindset every single time we go through this. Oh, you go out, you're going on vacation, you eat out. Guess what? Like, how often do you go eat out with your wife nowadays? Probably not as often as you used to. So it's, hey, enjoy yourself. Enjoy it, be in the moment, because a moment like that won't happen all the time, and then just get back to it the next day. It's not stressful. It's really not that big of a deal, and we don't need to be perfect. I'm not freaking perfect. I worked out once this week. Why? Because I was traveling. I was in New York City. I was seeing apartments with my girlfriend, and it was like, you know what? It doesn't make sense for me this week. So I'm just going to eat well, do the best I can. I got one workout in basically at the beginning of the week, and then that's the way it is. And then I'll get back to it tomorrow, like next week. It's really just no big deal. And we don't need to hold ourselves so freaking accountable. It's a long-term game. We need to train our minds to be in the right headspace for the long term, right? We can't be always dialed. We can't be perfect with the same amount of food. We can't be perfect with the workouts. It's impossible unless you live, breathe fitness, right? Like, you think that hey, I'm a coach. Like, you should be perfect all the time. Like, I still have life. I'm not perfect at all. And I want to make sure everybody notices that. In the group, we even talk about, we have Monday motivation stuff where we just talk about goals. Like, I'm very real with all you guys. Like, hey guys, like, this is what I'm going through this week. Like, I'm just like you. That's why I'm coaching you guys, because I am just like you. I'm busy. I'm trying to grow business or whatever. Sometimes I just can't be perfect, and I'm just going to do the best I can. That is it. And then be okay with that. Like, reframe how you think, where it's like, hey, just by doing the best you can, that way, it's like, okay, you release all this weight off your shoulders that you needed to be a certain way. You're imagining that you had to be this way. No, be happy with where you're at. Okay, cool. Next week, we're getting back to it. But this week, this is how it is, and I can't change it. That's it, period. And so, yeah, man, it's a huge part of the coaching is just, I want to make sure that we're always in the right mindset. I need to change your life. I need to change how you think about things. Like the workouts, the nutrition, like that's a big part of it. But the real life changes is in those conversations, dude, of just like, hey, like, you're okay. It's okay. Like, you're not alone. I'm going to help you through this, but you're literally okay. Your gym and your workouts, that'll be there next week. How about we get through right now? Let's focus on the present. Be in the moment type stuff. Man, I just went on a spiel. As you can tell, I'm a little bit passionate about this stuff. Like, it means a lot to me. Like, I don't mess around. I want to make sure everyone's in the right headspace as often as possible.
This part of the conversation feels a little different than when we were talking about engineering, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Whoa, I was just like sitting there coding. I was okay with life, and here I am just like pouring my soul into this stuff, man. That's how I roll. I don't mess around, and I want to change lives. I want to have an impact. That's what I realized. Even just like doing this full time, I realized this is what I'm meant to do. I am like what we do, the disc. I am a coach. I am a disc profile. I am a coach. That's where I am. I empower people. I want to pump people up. And I'm like, all right, yeah, let's just embrace that. Let's be a coach. Let's do it. Let's run it.
You've done an incredible job leaning into this and spinning it up, and you are truly getting results for people, myself included. Mm-hmm. And like you said, you're passionate about it, and that bleeds through. And at times when it's easy for people that you work with, or even people that aren't your clients, but maybe come across to you, that stuff's infectious, right? It makes a difference.
Yeah.
And the more, and the fact that you're 25, you're moving to, big city, you're trying to make positive changes that fire you up. People like to be along for the journey too, and support. And so I'm grateful for having crossed your path, both within the community we're part of, but also just getting to work with you. So as we move towards the tail end of this, why don't you tell people a little bit about the actual programs you offer? Okay. And if they're interested, even if they just want to get a taste of kind of what you're all about, like where can they find you?
Yeah. So first off, I offer free advice. Okay. If you want to hop on a phone call, like you heard about this, hey, let's have a call. So essentially, like maybe Aaron could throw it in the description, or if you go on my Instagram, it's Sorensen Fit. You can click the link and we can set up a call. Literally free call. Let's just talk. If you need I need answers now type stuff, talk. Let's do it. Want to make sure people have. That's like my number one thing, of course. So then the coaching and stuff, it's 6 months long, like I talked about. It's called the Life Change Program, essentially. And it's basically everything we've talked about here, where we talk about what your time frame is, okay? Because I'm not going to give you a 2-hour program when you have 30 minutes in a day. It's just not going to happen. I refuse to do that. It's not cookie cutter stuff. And for example, Aaron's situation is he has a home gym. Getting to the gym for him just didn't make sense. I have a bunch of clients on home gym stuff, like a lot, where they literally have dumbbells and a bench, and I give them stuff. It's hey, crush 30 minutes for me. Let's just do that, because that's what they can do, and that's what matters to me. I want you to just be able to do it and empower that and be pumped that you're moving towards something rather than doing nothing. So you'll get your own training program, and I call it activity program because some people are just simply on walking, dude. Got some people where it's like, Jack, I just can't get to the gym right now. It doesn't make sense. So I'm like, all right, cool. Can you just go for walks for me while you're taking phone calls, whatever? Can we just do walks? And then the coaching more is mindset work, accountability. So it's very framed what the client needs. Some people are very training heavy. I got some people that are younger and they're like, dude, I can be at the gym 6 days a week, no problem. Like, all right, cool. And so it's much more training heavy, right? Rather than there's some people that are much more mindset. More, hey, let's do this, or more nutrition. I literally have a client that literally just only wants to talk about nutrition. I got my workouts, I got this. I'm just here for the nutrition side of things. I'm like, sounds good, dude. Like, it's all very custom to what you need. So then we, of course, we have the training side of things. There's habits that we do every single day. It's very important to set up habits every day. Very simple stuff too. Walking, water, whatever it may be. It's very important to set these up. But we do that. We set up habits for you each and every day. And then you just basically, it's just nice knowing that you're marking stuff off, essentially. So we get your habits set up. And then there's the nutrition side of things, right? I'm very passionate about how I do my nutrition coaching because it's not what most coaches do. I want to make sure you're still eating food you enjoy. I want to make sure you're enjoying the food you eat. But I also want to make sure it's the right amount of protein, just make sure it's helping hormone levels, energy levels, all that jazz. So you tell me your favorite foods, you tell me your day-to-day stuff, and I make custom recipes, meal plan, everything basically catered to exactly what you enjoy. So it doesn't feel like I'm overhauling your life, because that's the worst thing ever when you eat a bunch of chips, or you like pancakes in the morning, or you like these big Greek yogurt bowls or whatever. And then all of a sudden I say, hey, dude, you're only eating chicken, broccoli, and rice 24/7. That's not the goal here. I want to make sure it's sustainable. That is like my numero uno goal, is that it's something that you can continue forever. And so the whole point of the Life Change program is that by the end of the 6 months, the goal is that you don't need me anymore. That's it. That's what I want. I don't want you to need me anymore. And granted, if you want to stick around and for accountability stuff, awesome. I would love that. If you say, Jack, you know what? I'm good to go. I'm going to try this on my own for a bit, but hell yeah, you are. Let's do it. Let me know. Keep me in the loop. Let's keep contact. Like, I still am always going to be that coach. So there's the nutrition side of things. Then there's the mindset coaching, right, of course, which I have a call. We basically do bi-weekly calls, so we switch off. So one call is essentially like a video check-in where I screen record. I have an app, guys. We got a community on there. It's awesome. But like I screen record, it's a big database. All your workouts, your food, your habits and stuff. I basically break it down for you, everything, just by week progress, see how you're doing, overview. It's very just, hey, this is how it is, and I'm breaking down everything. Nothing really gets unseen by me. Eventually, I will see things. People are like, oh, Jack, but will I fall off track? No. It's very hard to fall off when I am literally like looking at things over the shoulder like constantly, and then there's check-ins. It's not annoying, but we're gonna be able to tackle things right away, and that's the whole point. I was like, hey, let's make sure things don't simmer down, like simmer, and things don't blow out of proportion. Like, we're gonna attack things right away. But yeah, and then there's the mindset coaching call, which is what Aaron was talking about, where it's like, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Because that's huge for me. Going through my weight loss journey and everything, I was very alone. I didn't have anyone. I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't have anyone to refrain these thoughts. So it's like when I was starting this coaching, I'm like, what would I have needed when I was getting started? What would be something that would keep me going continuously? It was just the mindset thing, because I got in a dark place. It was really hard. So it's like, how do I keep people like so empowered and happy and positive that they are taking their health into their own hands? Big deal, whatever. And granted, it's not always great, right? Like that, there's things that come up, and I have to help you out. But the goal is just to make sure you don't feel alone. You're in the right framework. That whole gap in the gain mindset thing that is a hot topic in Action Academy, but yeah, so it's very important. So that's like the trinity, right? You have your activity plan, you have your nutrition plan, and then you have the mindset stuff. And then the utmost thing is the accountability. I think that's probably one of the top things, of course, too, is just knowing that I'm in your corner, always got me 24/7, all that jazz. And it's a good amount, man. I'm always there, and you're really like, when you sign up, it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and I don't take it lightly. And in 6 months, the game plan is to really make an impact, not just physically. Some people come in just saying, I just want to feel better, like about my body, about everything. It's not necessarily weight loss. I'm like, sounds good. Some people are here strictly for weight loss. It's all personal preference, but the goal is, if you're a busy individual and you feel like you don't have enough time, you do. It's just, we need to figure it out. We need to dissect your day and prioritize things. And if you don't have enough time to cook and make food, then why would I give you these crazy meals to cook and stuff? Hell no. Like, we'll find some quick stuff that works and you enjoy, and then that's it. It's not that complicated. You don't need to overhaul your life like tenfold. And most of the time I have people like eating like more food or tastier food, and this is crazy. I'm like, yeah, welcome. Hi. But yeah, I know that was a little bit of a rant and everything, but yeah, if you want to hit me up, I mean, obviously the free call, if you want to hit me up specifically about the coaching, just do it. I would love to help. Love to have you in here. You can hang out with me and Aaron all the time.
I'm in there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be cheering you on if you join.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Jack did not make me give up my ice cream or my Costco chocolate chunk cookies.
No, he could have that every day if he wanted to, guys, which is crazy. What a wild thought, right?
I was really worried about it. It almost prevented me from signing up. But once he told me that those were okay, then I made it pass. But
yeah, exactly.
Jack, it's been really fun hanging out, man. I will drop all the links so people can find you either for that free call or to follow you on Instagram. You give a lot of insights away there. It was great having you on the show. I will make sure everybody gets the links in the show description, and we'll have you back again hopefully very soon.
Dude, I would absolutely love that. Let's do it.